Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. John here with another Yu-Gi-Oh discussion video, and this one's a little different than a lot of the other ones I do. I do like deck theory, like deck stuff, but this is a more like, I guess, a meta relevant slash theory-esque video. And before I get into anything, well, first off, I mean, dangers are terrifying. Okay, we all know it, and I'm gonna go over why in this video they're so terrifying to me. If you're kind of ignorancing is blissing right now, we're gonna go over why, and hopefully I can change that a little bit. But first thing I want to do is I want to point to Phoenix Flare X. He actually made a video on his channel pretty much going over this kind of same idea, and he does a great job. It's just really in depth, and it's a 20-minute video, and this is kind of going to be a condensed down version and kind of worded differently, maybe. I don't know. It's just been on my mind, and I wanted to make a video about it. But 100% shout out to him for coming up with this, because I had like similar thoughts when the first Danger Monsters first came out in Cybernetic Horizon. I was like, whoa. Or even when we like officially got announced them, like at the U.S. Nationals or the North American Nationals, I was like, whoa, that's insane. That's too insane. Just the fact that their effects were like so generically, just when discarded they pop, they can special themselves pretty easily and replace themselves by letting you draw afterwards. They just felt too strong for like all of them. Like, if you're gonna have an archetype where, and we've seen this a lot with a lot of archetypes where like all the monsters in the archetype will have one effect that's like the same, and then after that they have a like secondary effect that like kind of changes per one. So like they all have that first same like discard a random card to special summon effect, and then they all have their own effect like when they are discarded as well. So like we've seen that, but I don't think we've ever seen an archetype that's quite as powerful as like a effect that they all share. And one of the best comparisons to do this archetype is Dangers, and Phoenix Flare makes this comparison as well. And it's like so obvious. I mean, when you look at this, like we have like monsters that are like almost exactly the same thing. Like we have like Nessie, which is just a danger version of Skarm. We have Chupacabra, which is like a danger version of Seer, and we have Jackalope, which is like a danger version of Graph. So like those are like the three best BA monsters, and those are like, well, maybe not Chupacabra because this deck doesn't get into the grave as fast as BAs, I feel like, but quite as fast. It still does, but just not always. But like you have your equivalents there, but the first effect is just more reliable than BAs. Like you may say, oh, like RNG, like they have an RNG factor, and it's true, but the RNG only makes so much of a difference. Like usually you're activating their effects when you have an entire hand filled with things you don't mind getting hit. That way, if they get hit, you get their effect. Like if you activate Nessie, you hit Nessie, you still get to replace Nessie with another one that you're going to activate. And if they don't hit it, you probably used it with something that you don't mind getting sent to grave or even wanted in grave, you know? So it's like the RNG only has so much to play with it, to play into like the whole like overall thing there, and just too much. Like they're also all dark attribute, which is just insane. It's absolutely ridiculous that they're all dark. I actually hate it. I wish they were different, because dark, if you don't know, I made a video a while ago saying like talking about how like water, fire, and wind all need more support, and dark is the most supported. They just like the other three are like have like half the support as even light, and light's the third most, and dark is by far the most. So we throw them into an attribute that already has like the most generic support out of any attribute. So we've got cards like Allure of Darkness to boost consistency, that one card that like if you have 7 darks you can banish 5 to draw 3. That card's pretty insane, especially in a deck like this that could put 7 darks in grave most turn 1s. So it's like, so then there's like add like a giant pool of like generic cards that help, and there's so much other stuff like Dark Grepher and Armageddon Knight. We've got darks on deck. Those like just get buffed in this deck even more. So we're getting to a point where these are just like so generic that they can fit in like almost any deck that can use the graveyard and or just doesn't mind discarding things. And that's kind of where we're at. But like in Yu-Gi-Oh, almost every single deck kind of can do that. And not every single deck, but most decks can do that. I mean, most decks have something that they don't mind being put in grave. And it's killing it, man. It's killing us. I feel like at some point we're only halfway through the support. That's another thing to consider, is that we're expecting 2 more sets worth of support. So we've gotten 4 monsters and 2 spell and traps in the first set, and 4 monsters and 2 spell and traps, or one spell, 1 trap in the second set as well. So now in Savage Strike, we're expecting to get the same. We're expecting to get another 4 monsters and another spell and another trap. None of the spell and traps have really been too impactful meta-wise, but I think they're cool for like pure danger builds or whatever. But otherwise, I'm not, crazy about them. But I think they're cool for pure builds. But for non-pure, they're not really that relevant. But keep that in mind, is like right now the best deck in the entire game is probably Danger Dark World FTK, and we only have half the danger stuff we're gonna get. Only half. And in each set we've gotten at least one that's like really good, one danger monster that's really good. I mean, obviously the first wave was better than the second wave, with Nessie, Jackalope, and Chupacabra, all 3 that are the like equivalents of like Graf, Seer, and Skarm. And Bigfoot's the best like going second one, probably. It's better than Thunderbird for sure. So like the second wave was not great, but like Tsuchinoko is still good. It's still a guaranteed body on board, even if it does get hit on the random discard. So it's like good, and like that's what that's just what we should expect. Every new set we should at least get like one more good one, at least like one of the better ones. And I don't know, like, where are we gonna be when all of it comes out? Oy. And it's just it's terrifying, because what can Konami make now? Just looking at generic, not even generic, but like any archetype that they go to make, any new cards, new monsters that they go to design, they have to dodge dangers now. They have to dodge a monster that like can just generically discard, or spells and traps that just generically discard that are like too strong, because you can just get so much extra advantage discarding dangers for them. You have to dodge like any like super powerful monsters that get discarded, like that have effects like when they're sent to grave or discarded specifically, because those are going to be extremely abusable in a deck like this. What else? I don't know. Like those are the main things, I guess, but like that's a lot. I mean, that's like floating. Like no generic floaters whatsoever, and nothing that like pays cost with like generic discarding. Like dangers are the reason that like nightmares have gotten like worse. Is that going into nightmares, you just get more advantage. Like it's not cost anymore, and that's what we've seen with the nightmares, is that we've seen people try and take that discard as cost and just try and make it not cost. That's why we see Phoenix Divine Sword Phoenix Blade being played in like Gokis, just to like, so it's not really cost, because you discard that and then you get it back and you discard it again. You're not paying multiple costs, you're just paying Phoenix Blade once. And that's the same with like the dangers, is like you discard a Nessie but you add another one, add a Jackalope, then you discard a Jackalope with a second nightmare and you get a special summon. Like, so you're not paying cost really with the dangers. So they just need, like, that's the scariest part, is that I love cards that float, but the dangers kind of limit us to a point where like what can Konami make? What cards can Konami design that are like generically good? They kind of can't. And then you say like, okay, so like ban list. Okay, ban list. But what do they do when it's an entire archetype like this? I guess you can hit like the best ones, but even so, like, their effects are still solid, and maybe the RNG becomes more into play with the worst ones, because their effects aren't as impactful when they get hit randomly out of the hand. But they still, like, the main effect of them is that hitting something else and then special summon yourself to draw a card. You get a free special summon and you draw. You dig deeper. And that's like the main effect. The other effects are like kind of just insurance in case they do get hit, and that's kind of how I see it, is that that second effect is less relevant, but it makes like Nessie like a super safe play, makes the better ones super safe, like Nessie, Jackalope, Tsuchinoko. It makes those like the safest plays, because even if they get hit, you still get advantage, and you can at least like try again, or you get a monster on board. So if they wanted to go after that, but I don't think any of us see Konami going after an entire archetype like that, right? Because at the end of this, we're looking at 16 danger monsters, assuming they get to that point, and assuming since we have 3, I would say, that are like the best ones. So like Jackalope, Nessie, and Tsuchinoko. Those are like the best 3 probably. Assuming we get like one more good one, and at least then we have 5. Do you really see Konami hitting all 5, even if they're all like doing it? And then even if they do, you still could have an entire, like, you still have 13 other danger monsters that you can use. Or I'm sorry, 11 other danger monsters you could use to, you know, just push like free special summons and draw through your deck super fast. So I don't know how Konami would go about doing it, because they can't just hit the whole archetype, not to mention that they're all expensive as hell. Like, really, like, half of them are, like, the best ones are like $50, like pushing $50 now. So, like, you can't just hit those and just ruin everybody's investments, especially if you hit multiple at the same time. I don't know. This is like, overall, this is just like a theory video, and I want to know everybody else's thoughts, but like, it's just terrifying. Dangers are terrifying for like what the future of the game looks like. We already see them being splashed into like a ton of different decks just because they deal with the graveyard. Just because the decks they're being splashed in just deal with the graveyard. I was trying to build Light Sworns, and I'm like having trouble not putting them in Light Sworns just to like help with bricky hands, just because in a deck like Light Sworns you're gonna draw, you know, Wolves and Felice and stuff, and you just like, you don't mind if they get hit because it's just and discarded, just because like they can't do anything in hand anyway, so that's fine. And you get to redraw anyway with the free monster on board. So I'm having trouble like not putting dangers in there, just because they just help like get stuff engraved faster, and that's tough. I mean, that's tough for like any random deck can just use this, honestly. So that's kind of like where my head's at. I'm just kind of worried about the future with dangers running around. But let me know what you guys think. I know I kind of got a little rambly there towards the second half, but I wasn't really like super organized for this. I was just kind of like, let me just talk about what I'm thinking. Like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, if you thought what I said was interesting, Phoenix Flare X does a much better job of like really staying like bing bing bing, hitting all the points all together, and less of like a ramble fest. So I would definitely go check out his video for sure. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video and listening to my thoughts on why danger is terrifying. There, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Subscribe if you haven't, please. And have a great rest of your Sunday. Peace.